Very excited to be hosted by Unthinkable today. We've hosted great experts before on this platform. Of course, Joanne Mwangi, who is one of our panelists today, has been one of those that we have hosted here. We've hosted Peter Ndwati, Marion Mwangi, Lee Karuri, Bitange Ndemo, Julian Kiola, Flora Mutahi, Patricia Idao, Mikulsha, among others. And today I am very excited because we shall be talking about a topic that is very dear to me, which is about intersection of brands, really, personal brand building and organizational brand building. And I wanted to quote someone here who is called Cybele Negris, who said that leaders are not only about them. Whether right or wrong, their reputation is intricately tied to that of a company. And it also seeps into boards and external organizations that they represent. Beyond building and inspiring their teams, their leadership needs to protect the shareholder value and protect the brand and the reputation of the company. And that is tied to returns and profitability of the company. I think there are so many case studies of reputation of owners or founders or CEOs gone rogue that has had detrimental effects on organizations that they lead. And so today we'll be looking at that topic, and I have a wonderful panel of experts joining me here today. On my left is a wonderful lady who is called Reema, and she will introduce herself and tell us what she does, and then I will also take a moment to introduce my panelists joining me online. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, great. Thanks, Yelbert. So my name is Reema. I am the founder and CEO of Ardy Marketing. And Ardy Marketing has been in existence for about close to 3.5 years now. And we are also the marketing experts at Sandbox, spelled as SNDBX. And yeah, we're really excited to be here. What we do actually as a business is we help you get to your target market. So we help you do marketing, we help you do strategy, and really understand who your target market and target audience is so that you can be able to effectively get there. So yeah, so that's what we do in a nutshell at Ardy Marketing.
Thank you, Reema, for that wonderful introduction. I think you'll get to understand what Sandbox is as we go along, because some of you could be like me, who are wondering what is Sandbox. Okay, the next person on my next guest on the panel is Ben Omol. Ben is a founder and of Bright Spark Media, and I would want to give a chance to Ben to introduce himself.
Hi, thanks, Yelbert. Thank you very much for being a wonderful host. Good evening to everybody. My name is Ben Omol. As has been said, I'm the founder of Bright Spark Media. I think where Yelbert and Reema are right now. So Bright Spark Media is a company that focuses on marketing, essentially. And we have a twist to it. We try and be above the line, where we offer strategy, creative, and production services to a lot of our clients. Sometimes we have to go below the line. Just a secret, I sometimes don't like going below the line, but it has to be done. And I'm glad to be here, ready to share whatever I can from my experience.
All right, and I think one of my next guests will be joining us in a moment. We are having technical issues, and we'll get her to join in a moment. And she is Joanne Mwangi Yelbert, who is the CEO of PMS Group Africa Limited. And of course, when she joins, we'll give her an opportunity to talk more about what she does, and so we can be able to know her better. I think without much ado, the topic of the day is, as I mentioned, the intersection of personal brand for leaders and organizations. And my first question would go to Ben. And the question is, you have been a founder of Bright Spark Media. I'd like you to share with us how you've been supporting your customers in brand building, because we will be focusing on how important that is, especially for the owners as well as the organizations, and how those two come together.
Thanks, Yelbert. So for me and for Brightspark, essentially, and entities that are really striving to do or have a very high impact in the society in terms of their products. So when we're talking about a brand, we are looking at make sure that they have really defined what it is that they want to be known for, or what it is that they do. And then from there now, there are elements and assets that go all around it, and we make sure that those assets and those elements are actually very well communicated to the public, are very well targeted to the right target market, and the overall things that also they're very consistent in their messaging. So with the corporates that we've worked with, so I'll just give an example of who we've done work with CTM, for example, has been one of our longest clients, and we've really done quite a lot with them as for their brand, and now they're becoming, I mean, like the last 2 years, they've been the #1 brand in the industry, in the construction industry, and this is as consistent work that has been done over I think over 5 years, always just doing, every year there's something that we're doing, every year there's 2 or 3 campaigns that we're running. All this combines into their brand. But essence, the brand essence, particularly, for example, is having top quality tiles for the middle class African family, you know, and that is constantly hammered down, trying to get the prices at the right place, trying to get the brand seen at the right locations, trying to get the brand to be communicating in a certain way, in a certain style, in a particular way. So when we talk about brand from our perspective, it has always been at a corporate level.
Yeah.
When it comes to individuals, so I think within the last 2 years, what we've seen and what we've tried to do is really support some of the top management, or in being able to bring in their personal lives to support the brand. An example is one of the directors loves cycling a lot, something that now I have picked up by virtue of where I've moved to. I'm in Denmark, so in Denmark, everybody cycles everywhere. There are no VXs bullying you off the road. So now that he's done that, he's a fan of cycling. We came up with a campaign where he can be able to give back to society through cycling. So we organized an event where they cycled, I think about 40 or 50 people who cycled from Mombasa to somewhere, and were able to really just chime in his personal brand to contribute to the corporate brand.
Yeah.
And that just speaks to the authenticity that is needed whenever you are when you're blending in personal and corporate brand. So he did it as a way to give back to society, because there was really no way cycling and his corporate brand could merge, but we found a way, and that was the way to give back. And yeah.
Thank you, Ben, for that example that you share. Before I ask my next question, which will go to Reema, I want to welcome my other panelist, Joanne, who has finally gotten through. Sorry for the challenge, Joanne, that we had there on the technical side. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Thank you so much. And thank you to the technical team that has tried to get me back in.
Yeah, welcome.
It's amazing how much it all works. Thank you.
All right, and I want to take this opportunity to just give you a minute or two to introduce yourself. I did mention that you are Joanne Mwangi Yelbert. I hope I got the names right. CEO of PMS Africa, and PMS is Professional Marketing Services. And I'd want to give an opportunity to just introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
All right, thank you very much, Yelbert, and thank you so much, my fellow panelists. I'm really sorry I missed the beginning of this presentation. As you have heard, I was there right on time, in fact, before time, but unfortunately, some glitch happened and I was thrown out and couldn't get back in. So from my ID, you can see I'm now Modoni Mwangi because my name, Joanne Mwangi, has been rejected by the system, but that's fine. Now you know I'm Modoni. I'm a marketing professional, a communications expert, a mother, a sister, a wife, a friend. And I believe that as a brand, the one thing that I'm most known for is as an entrepreneur, and secondly, as a communication specialist. To the topic at hand, I don't know whether how much we're introducing. It is a pet subject for me, and I'm very excited to be here with my friend Ben Omol, who I haven't seen in a while. Yeah. And it's amazing to just see you again. Yeah, thank you.
So let's go right into it, Joanne, because this question was actually meant to come to you. You have been working with multiple brands for more than 20 years. And in your experience, you have seen how personal brands intersect with business brands. I think a great example is yours. I was going through your profile as I was preparing earlier. And I think one of the things that stood out for me, you mentioned that when you started your business, one of the things in financing your business, banks could not come on board. And so you had to get funds from your friends. And for me, that speaks about reputation of you as a person, not even of your business. Tell us how that has worked for you and how you have helped these brands in that period that you have been in the market.
Wow, thank you very much, Yelbert. And that's really true. Back then when I was looking for money, nobody in the banking industry thought that I was bankable. I couldn't get any money, so I had to borrow from friends and relatives. And as we all know, your networks know you very well. So they determine whether you are creditworthy or not based on your previous behavior. And I think the most important thing is for somebody to remain authentic, because then as long as you're credible, people will know who you are and will trust you. I find that the minute people believe that you're a credible person, you find a lot of business comes your way because like-minded people want to work with you. And secondly, you get the benefit of credit facilities because people know that Joanne is good for her word. So in as much as she may delay the payment, she's going to pay. And that helps you very much in business. I don't think you can run a business really that is separate from your personal brand. Because in the end, when we deal with any organization, it's the people we deal with. There's no organization that will ever come to see you and say, my name is PMS Group. It is the people at PMS Group that come. So I believe that the corporate brand and the individual brand are intricately intertwined, and it is impossible to separate the two. And so you must manage your personal brand in such a way that it actually augments your professional brand, but not necessarily meaning that your personal brand is always the professional brand that you show out there. So there's the personal brand that is the visible public brand, and then there's you, the human. So I think it's important to also clarify that there are two people within you. So there's Joanne, the public person that is seen in the media, and then there's Joanne, the individual, who is the private person, who people don't see, people don't know, except your friends. So I think it's important to also distinguish that there's those two areas. Thank you.
And I think it's very interesting to note that though you need to distinguish the two personas, that is the Joanne, the corporate person, and Joanne, the individual, it is very interesting that the things you do as an individual ultimately have an impact on the organization that you run. And so if you run down your reputation as an individual on the other side, it can actually affect your business. And I would want Reema to take it here, and I know she is a sandbox expert, and this is where she tells us what sandbox is, and she focuses on supporting SMEs in building their brands using marketing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that, and of course tell us what Sandbox is?
Sure. Yeah. So let me start with who Sandbox is. Sandbox is an organization that hosts 33 different experts under one roof. So as a business, you walk in and you can get any kind of expertise. So they're non-competing. So like Ardy Marketing, myself, is the marketing experts. We've got legal, we've got credit, we've got finance, we've got personal finance, we've got coaching. So literally anything that you'd need as a business, you'll be able to get that under one roof. We're all vetted, we're all experts in our industry, governance, processes, logistics, anything literally that you need for your business, you'll be able to get over there, you know. And so, yeah, I joined Sandbox July of last year. And yes, one of the things even before that, as well as while I'm at Sandbox, one of the things that we do is we support startups and SMEs. So as startups and SMEs, what we do, when they come to us, we, of course, we have to understand what is their challenges, what are their needs. And once we understand that, we're able to then build their business further. So what people don't realize when they come in is that the brand is not just, or the business is not just a logo. So, you know, when we talk about brand, coming down to just like the basics of that, you know, when we say, oh, let's create a brand, you know, or let's create branding. So everyone just thinks, okay, let's create a logo, put it on our letterhead, and then that's it, you know. So then we have to demystify it. Or one of our brand experts at Sandbox, they call Fuse. I mean, we sit down and we talk about this all the time. Your brand is more than just that logo. Your brand is a promise. You know, your brand is who you stand for, your values, etc. You know, and that's what people connect with, right? I mean, look at when you come down to looking at, for example, Coca-Cola, right? Why do they still have to carry on doing like advertisements and so on? And, you know, they're always in your face, for example, wherever you see them. But it's that brand that they've created over years and years of what they're promising. You know, they quench your thirst, you know, and that's what you think about every time you think, oh my God, it's such a hot day. What do I need to do? Oh yeah, a cold Coke, definitely for me, kind of a thing, right? So how do you get to that level? How do you get to that level where people, when they're thinking about a particular item in their lives, they're saying, they're saying that, oh, you know, we want a Coke. It's not even, oh, we want to quench our thirst. I need a Coke, you know, kind of a situation. So I'm giving an example about that. But there's so many other brands like that, that when we were growing up, we're saying, you know, for example, Colgate, we're not saying toothpaste, we're saying that. We're not saying scoring pad or scoring powder. We're saying something, you know, a particular brand name. So this is where your business needs to get to such a level that your promise means you, right? And so that's what the brand is, whether it's for your business or for your personality or for your person as well. And that's what now, you know, we help your business to get to that level. So when we're doing your marketing, what is the strategy, of course?
Yelbert, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me, Ben?
I couldn't hear you. I think you were on mute. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, let me repeat.
Neither could I.
Let me repeat that question. So I
Yes,
said
please.
you are a founder, and
Yeah.
I want you to share with us how you have leveraged on your personal brand as Ben to build the brand Bright Spark, and also how you encourage your clients to leverage their personal brand building to build their businesses.
Yeah, thanks, Philbert. I think for me, it's right now. I would say I'm at a crossroads because, like what Reema said, your brand goes really way down into your values, and I think for me at the moment, I'm in a point where I'm trying to figure out who that guy is again, or who the person that I want the public to see.
Yeah.
But I've got the story that I have is like even to just get to Bright Spark. I was excited, Reema, that she's a musician because that's for me, that's my background as well. So I started off as a music producer, and right off from my bedroom, I got into radio and I started working in radio. And I just carried on that music thing all through, and it really exploded. So I got into radio to be able to produce the music that you'd hear behind adverts, you'd hear behind promotions and all that. And that music thing really carried on. I got into doing jingles. So doing jingles for Jump, doing jingles for Equity Bank, doing jingles for Bidco, and that in a way now just became the brand that now is eventually, now with the jingles, now I'm actually making money. And so the jingles was a side hustle from the main job, which was in radio. And that continued to a point where I was saying, maybe now I can just do this on a full-fledged thing. And started Bright Spark Media now really with the focus of saying, okay, we can only do jingles for you, we can also give you some other creative ideas, something that I'd honed now from the radio world. I think when I was in the radio world, we came up with some amazing competitions like the big wedding, 48 parties in 48 hours. And that aspect of creativity is now what I wanted to bring into the corporate world, into agency world. And because those things were part of my brand, I kept on talking about them, I kept on doing, they really now helped me set up Bright Spark.
Yep.
I think when I quit my job to starting Bright Spark, within a month, between 3 months, we already had a big client.
Yeah.
And within another 9 months, we had another one knocking on our doors again. So I think personal brand really gives you a space in the world, you know. It gives you a voice in the world to be able to speak about all these other things. And I still stick with music. If you look at Rihanna, if you look at Jay-Z, their personal sort of brands has been in music all along. Rihanna has been in music from a young age, being in Barbados, being discovered, performing worldwide. Now she's a billionaire, but not because of the music, but because of the business entity that she's built. And the brand that she built all along has enabled her to really capitalize on the business end of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes the personal brand gets you into rooms that you'd not necessarily be able to get into. And like Joanne said, you're talking to people, and people will always be obsessed when they find something authentic. So if you bring out the authenticity in you, in the public space, it gives you opportunity to get into a room that you can negotiate a deal that you'd never have thought possible. So I think in a nutshell, that's been my story. That's an example of what I can give as a way to build your business.
Yep.
people need to do this as much as possible. I think one of the unthinkable sessions that I had was that Kenyans are very shy and very closed. They don't want people talking about them. I think somebody else said that we are afraid that people will be jealous of our success, witchcraft will be in there and all those things. But it's not about that.
Yeah.
You guys need to just realize that this now is a fact of life. Where we are at right now, you have to do it to be able not only to help yourself, but to also help your business. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And thanks for sharing your personal example. I put you on the spot right there. I know you didn't.
We just need to find out if Joanne also sings, and then the four of us can actually
Yeah,
do together.
Joanne, do you sing? It looks like there's a singing thing going around here.
Let me just tell you guys, I love to sing, but if I sing, you will run away. But I just love it. So for me, the one thing that, but I love music so very much. So for me, my thing is the dancing is not even so much the singing. Okay. So in my private life, what most people don't know is that I do a lot of dancing. A lot of dancing. I'm very good. I dance rumba, I dance kizomba, and yet those are the things that nobody connect with my professional brand.
Wow. So I think we still form a good team because
singers,
we're going to sing
dancer,
and then you're going to dance. All right. And my next question comes to you, Joanne. Your personal brand, you know, of course, many accolades as an individual. Before you joined, you formed PMS. You worked in big organizations like Unilever, I believe, Colgate, yeah?
No, also Colgate, yes.
Yeah. How did your personal brand help you in building PMS?
Okay, firstly, maybe I can start by saying that by the time I was starting PMS, I don't think I had really worked on my personal brand, at least not deliberately. But the one thing I can say is that I believe that your personal brand is very much in your networks also, because it's what people believe about you. And when I left corporate to go start my business, some of the doors that opened were simply because those were guys who believed in me as an individual, even when I was employed in the corporate world, whether it was Standard Media Group, whether it was working for postal directories, whether it was Colgate, whether it was later on the Kenya Tourism Board, you know, all these places, the people you meet, if they believe that you're somebody they can trust, even when you're doing your own business, they still trust you. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. A person of integrity doesn't have integrity at home, but no integrity at work, or integrity at work and no integrity at home. It's impossible. So you are who you are. And so people believe in that. And I think that when it comes to your personal brand, you have to be actually deliberate if you're going to win the war. You see, like what Ben is talking about, he's feeling conflicted because is he a musician? Is he a managing director of Bright Spark? Which one is it that is winning, you know? And I find that this is a quandary that all of us find ourselves in eventually. For example, everybody knows me as an entrepreneur. Everybody knows me as a marketer for professional marketing services. That's the brand that I have amplified. However, in reality, there's so many other sub-brands. For example, I'm very passionate about women empowerment. I do a lot of work in terms of promoting women's economic empowerment, but I don't talk much about it because I don't have the bandwidth to have 10 brands, you know? So once you decide this is the main brand, it's almost like how corporates do. You have your mother brand, and then you have your sub-brand. But all you have to do is make sure that there are synergies that support each other, and the ones that don't, you're quiet about them. So like, for example, given my personal brand, can you imagine if I was running a nightclub? I would have to never mention that I own shares in that nightclub, you get? Because there is a disconnect. So, you know, you have to just look at it that way. I don't own any shares in any nightclub. I'm just using it as an example, but I'm just trying to say that there's some things that conflict with your brand. And so you need to be very careful that the things that conflict with your brand, you don't amplify.
That is a very important point you raised there, Joanne. And I was reading an article on how to build your personal brand. And there were 5 questions that you needed to answer, which you've mentioned one of them. And one of them was, What do you want to be known for? So you could be having several things that you are good at, but you need to narrow down to one that you want to be known for. Then there was another one. What are you uniquely an expert in? You cannot be an expert in everything. And that touches on what Ben has just shared. He's a bit conflicted. Do I want to be in music, or do I want to be in production and marketing? Then the other one, of course, is what kind of legacy or impact do you want to leave behind? And I think that deeply talks on about values that you espouse as an individual. And then the fourth one is, who is your audience? And lastly, what platforms and channels will best distribute your message and channel. And talking about that, Reema, tell us about, in your experience, do you think that SMEs are doing enough in building their personal brands?
Okay, so to start on the SME journey, a lot of the SMEs that I feel are perhaps, I don't know, there's a bit of both in here. One, I realize that as an SME or as a small business, sometimes you're the solopreneur, or even for my situation, we have a team of people. However, people relate to Ardy marketing and Reema as well, right? So I feel like there's a bit of both in there. People connect with me, so they will call me up and say, hey, Reema, I need marketing help, right? Because I've positioned myself as the marketing strategist, as a marketing expert, but also they know that I run a business, right? So then they come to me and they say, hey, do this. So I feel like, just like myself, other SMEs are also in that space where they have, and I think Joanne had mentioned this as well, that people connect with you because they trust you, right? And they know that you can deliver. So that now you have a team of people that delivers as well, right? Rather than the individuals. So yes, SMEs are working on personal brand because people are still connecting with them as a person, and then now connecting with the company. Or they've seen the company that's there or the brand that's there. And then now they're like, okay, but I know you, Yelbert, can you actually help me out with something? Right? And how it happens, that's a different case altogether, but that's happening. How they're telling their stories, that's where the question is. Because people are not telling their stories, right? People are shying off. And I know businesses that have come to me and said that, hey, listen, you know what, I do this, but don't add me anywhere. Don't put my picture anywhere. Don't give my story anywhere, sort of thing. But what you realize is that the audience wants to hear that story. The audience wants to hear that brand story about yourself as well as your business. So where did this business start? How did it start? Ben just mentioned right now, like how his entire transition is. And for me, I connected with him immediately. I was like, oh yeah, okay. Well, that sounds nice. And I already started creating that picture in my mind, right? That, he was doing this, and then he was a producer, and then he was doing jingles. And then from the jingles, he's like, oh, but let me start Bright Spark. And then now Bright Spark. And then, there's now a big customer by the time he was 3 years old. And, so already I'm like immediately connecting with that, right? So his story is what is connecting the target audience to say, actually, I would not mind going with that because they know what they're doing. So Ben is an expert, and his company is delivering as well, which is the reasons why big brands are going to you, for example, or certain businesses are going to you. So there is that deliberation or the deliberate aspect of how to do it. And there's a question there that you mentioned. One of the ways you can professionally build your personal brand is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great way of actually building a personal brand. You put out there what you're doing, like, for example, one of the things would be like this. I would share it on my LinkedIn page and say, hey, you know what? Join us. I am going to be speaking at Unthinkable. Please join us. This is what I'm doing. Or whichever events that you're going to, and you want to put that in there. Or, like, what is your opinions, point? It doesn't have to be a big article. It could be just, something that you've written, so on and so forth. So that could be a great way of actually doing and building a personal brand. I'm in hiking, I'm music. I love dancing like Joanne. I think, Joanne, you and I should actually go dancing somewhere at some point. But these are things that you want to put out. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and this could be on Instagram, for example, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing about the trends of the people. People, when they hear about your brand, or they will first find out, oh, who's the owner of that business, or who's the prominent person in that business. Oh, and what do? Can I follow them on LinkedIn? Can I follow them on whatever?
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing with your brand. So that you have like a website, great, there's a tick, there's a credibility aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then from the website, they'll click on your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, your Instagram page, and they say, okay, what are you doing consistently? Again, Ben mentioned consistency.
Yeah.
Are you consistently creating a message to talk to your target audience, you know?
Mhm.
And so they'll go and connect over there because they want to connect. This whole social media is all about connecting with you socially, so they can understand what is your brand story, what are you saying about it, what are you saying about, you know, are you educating us, are you inspiring us, are you, you know, and not just by saying Happy Madaraka Day or Happy Christmas, you know, and so on and so forth, you know. So what is it that you're actually creating a message around?
Yeah.
Right.
And talking about personal brands, it is very important. I think she's given an example of building your own personal brand on platforms like LinkedIn. And I think that is very important. And I want to reiterate that point. So you can imagine if you have a business, and then someone is looking, who is the owner of this business? And they find the owner is Benson Omol. And they go try to look for Benson on LinkedIn, and he doesn't exist on LinkedIn. Do you think that the reputation of that brand, even if they saw the ad, for example, on Billboard, will it still stand the same way? And I'll give you a personal example. So I was talking to young business SMEs on this same platform, the Unthinkable platform. And I was giving them an example of Udo. I don't know if you've seen that billboard somewhere. It's very simple. It just says, Udo, we take your business online. Yeah. Do you know that ad prompted me to go and look for Udo and try to find out what is this business that these people do? What do they mean when they say they take my business online?
Yeah.
That is a brand building platform. That billboard right there was a brand building platform. So coming back to, again, what platforms do you have? LinkedIn is one of those that has been mentioned. We have traditional mediums that you can do very simple and creative things to elicit conversations around your brand. What are some of the other platforms that you can use? And I want to encourage you to put your questions on the comment section. We will take a break at some point in about 10 minutes. And then we come back to answer those questions and have just conversations. And we will also allow you to ask your questions directly to my panelists. To my next question, which will go to Ben. How important is personal branding for founders of small or medium-sized businesses? And when I ask you that question, I want to give a recent example of a brand that really went rogue. I believe the listeners of this webinar know about the story of our twin brothers in town who are SMEs. They had very good business going. They had good stuff happening, and an individual behavior sparked into a spiral that just really affected their business. Ben, what do you have to say?
Well, thanks, Phil. I think some of Joanne and Reema have already touched on the importance of brand. And I think I'll just reiterate something that Joanne said. So your brand can be either within your networks or it can be out there. Now, focusing on the one that is out there, you've talked about platforms. LinkedIn is very important. I'll give an example. Right now in Denmark, I'm trying to network with other business owners and other people the first place they go is LinkedIn, and they check you out there to see if you're really who you say you are. So that authenticity really needs to check in. You really need to be clear about who you are. And then when you go out there, whatever you are displaying is the person that you truly are inside. Now, when you bring that aspect to your business, that authenticity will definitely just reflect. You've just talked about the twins and how in a week, their business just went south. And I think that's what Kenyans are really afraid of, is that they might put out some of these things that are about themselves. Maybe they're a champion of something else, and somebody might take it and it might go south. But I think that is a very it's a very backward way of thinking about it. I think there are more advantages of really pushing yourself and taking that risk and being bold enough to put yourself out there than it is just clawing back and putting yourself in the closet or in the wardrobe. Being out there really for small businesses is very important, because like I said earlier, it can get you into rooms that you'd not necessarily have been in. One thing that I've noted is that Kenyans love to hang out with celebs, you know. When I was producing, my name was the architect. So anytime I would be, I don't love going to clubs, but when I go into a club with some of my friends, guys, hey, this is the architect. I know, and you're talking, I meet Shafi. Shafi is already, well, you're the guy. And he's introducing me to, I think it was it Paul Domo or somebody, I can't remember, it was a while back. And we ended up doing business out of that, you know, and it's just because of just putting yourself out there. Right now, there are so many tools that can help you really position yourself well on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I know in Kenya, people say Facebook is dying. Facebook is massive. I've just been amazed by how massive it is around the world. And on Twitter, I think there are tools that can really help you really figure out, first of all, what you want to do, and then how to place it out there. There are people like Reema, there are people like me, there are people like Joanne who have been there, who can really be able to help you really hone your message and know how to put it out there on a regular basis and tie it in with your business. Like I said at the beginning, for one of our clients, his passion is cycling, but there was really no way of him connecting the cycling with his business. But then we figured out and said, but why don't you do this as a way to give back to society? That you're raising money to buy tiles to tile a particular school. And it made a lot of sense. And they ended up, I think, raising close to 800,000 shillings. And they tiled the entire school even and added even toilets in there. So always try and figure out a way of how you can bring your personal, authentic self to the platform, and then try and leverage that for your business in a way. Right now, for me, where I am with the business, I mean, the business is larger than I am. It's in creative. There's somebody who does creative. There's somebody who does music now. I don't do it. There's somebody who does the video shooting and the editing. There's somebody who does the strategy. And all that came from the brand the personal brand that I built of the music side of things. So things can really spiral out and grow much more than you think.
Wow, thanks, Ben. And I think this question relates with what I'm going to be asking Joanne, but largely looking at our Kenyan market and the African market, most of the brands that have really been placed at a high value are actually foreign brands. And in your opinion, why is that the case? And what do we need to do to elevate our game? And I'll add to that to say, we have local brands that are doing very well, the likes of Safaricom and M-Pesa. And we believe that continued education around the value and the importance of investing in your brands then is going to help us answer to this question. And Joanne, I would really like to hear your view on what do we need to do to elevate our game around brand building. You're muted. You're muted. You can unmute your microphone.
Thank you very much. And you know, that's, I hope my audio is good because I'm struggling a little bit. Huh? Thank you very much. So first, I love the question you've just asked because it's close to my heart, because I'm always struggling with why we are not building our brands and amplifying them to grow. I think we'll start off with why we don't do it. And it goes back to what Ben has just said about people being afraid of visibility. Now, if you're afraid of visibility, it means that your brand is limited to the people who see it by default. So how does your brand grow? How does your brand get to the next stage? And I think this is one thing that we must demystify and get people to stop being afraid of. The visibility is 99% good. It is only the 1% chance of something going wrong. The challenge is in the media, you only see the 1%. You never see the 99% of people who are benefiting from visibility. You only see when it goes wrong. That's when we talk about it. That's when, you know, brands collapse, etc. And I want to tell you that even in the issue of the twins, if that situation had been better managed, they actually did not need to have gone the route it went. So they should have come to me. It wasn't an impossible situation. There's no situation that is impossible in terms of how you turn it around, because it's not what happens, it's how you react to what happens that determines the outcome. So I think that's a big lesson that you know, for all of us in business, we need to learn. When things go belly up, please don't retreat. Get a team together to help you deal. And don't be afraid to come head on with the situation, because most of us hide. We are ashamed, we are shy. Yeah. So that's the first thing, fear of visibility. Mm-hmm. Now, the first thing I'll say is that if you want your brand to grow, you want your business to grow, you want your brand to be not just local or regional, but international, kill the fear of visibility, start telling your stories left, right, and center. Now, when you're building your brand equity comes a lot from what people perceive your brand to be. Mm-hmm. If today Ben decides to sell Bright Spark, 99% of what he will be selling is what people believe is the potential of Bright Spark, not necessarily the equipment he has in his offices, because that, you know, I mean, that will be worth maybe 5 million shillings, but the business will be worth $5 million. So that's the extrapolation that comes from just building a powerful brand. And this is very, very important. I believe that one of the things that we need to do to grow our big brands is that the business leaders also need to position themselves as thought leaders. So if you are doing, you're in the business of recruitment or providing talent, then everybody needs to know that anybody looking for talents, that's where you go. How do they know this? They see you everywhere. You remind them every day that you exist. So whatever channels you're using, people must know your name on the shopping list. So people ask, who are the top brands in this sector, in Kenya, in Africa? Your name must pop up, and your name will not pop up if all you're doing is simply doing your day-to-day stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that's also one of the things that gives us a lot of credibility nowadays is your digital footprint. If your website is not solid, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, when I look for you online, if I don't find you and I don't see the things I want to see, straight away I dismiss you. So, I mean, if your online presence is not powerful, is not carefully curated to give you that big brand image, you don't get anywhere. And that's what a lot of our brands are not doing. We don't develop those brands. We also don't work very hard in terms of amplifying our brands by kind of speeding it up, catalyzing it. For example, you can imagine like now, if I'm running PMS Group and the next time that Lewis Hamilton is in Kenya, he's doing an activity with PMS Group, straight away, that brand is not just Kenyan, it's not African, it is a global brand. Everybody who is F1 is knowing that I exist. So those are the things that we don't use. Those are the connections we don't use. And then finally, the last one I will say, and I mean, there are many others, but I'm speaking off the cuff.
Uh-oh.
We seem to have lost Joanne there. And as she comes back, we will continue with the conversation. I think one of the things that I have observed is that even when you go for mergers and acquisitions, brand value.
So let's see. This technology is. Are you back?
She's back. Yeah, you're back. You can continue.
Our internet is unstable as well.
Yes,
Joanne,
I think this time it
you.
was you, but it's okay. We'll let it pass. Fantastic. Okay, so I was just saying that one of the last things that we'll use that is a good example and that we don't use a lot is how we should position our brands and connect them to topical issues. So like, for example, we are talking climate change. How many brands are associated with climate change, either as an advocate of things that are working for climate change or as a participant in climate change activities? How many of our brands, we just sit back and we don't connect it? Right now in Kenya, we are talking about GMO. How many of our brands are connecting ourselves with that conversation? Because as that conversation has got the spotlight shining on it, put yourself under that same spotlight, ride that wave. And then the really final one that I can think of right now in terms of amplifying your brand is, it goes back to where we began, is dealing with crisis.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a crisis, the bigger the opportunity. So if ever you find yourself in crisis, that's your best brand building opportunity. Because at that point, everybody is looking at you. And when they look at you, it's up to you to pick that mic and say what you want to say, not what they expected to hear. Thank you.
Fantastic. And it's called riding the wave, right? The higher it goes, the higher you go. And I don't know if there's an example that you have dealt with brands both on PR as well as marketing. Is there an example, a specific example that jumps out at you that you can share with us of turning around a turmoil into a positive brand narrative?
I think the easiest one to use is actually in the political space, because everybody knows what happens in Kenya in the political space.
Yeah.
I think if you look into our history, there's some people who have become very, very senior in government. And if you look at the genesis of their becoming a brand, it's because something negative happened. They were alleged perhaps to have been corrupt or something like that. And the next thing you know, their brand or their name becomes a household name. Yeah. Now, the minute your name is a household name in the political space, you've got brand recognition. Once you have brand recognition, it's up to you to build the attributes that will be associated with you. So in as much as we'll be saying, oh, that person is corrupt, at the same time, the only person anybody knows is that corrupt person, so they don't know anybody else. And when we go to vote, we usually vote for the familiar. Now, if that person also happens to be good looking, my gosh, you don't have a chance. They're winning because the brand recognition, and then they look nice, either male or female. Straight away, they're ticking so many boxes in advance. And I think we need to look at our corporate brands also in the same way. Yeah. So like, for example, if you ever have a problem with your brand, like for example, let's say, let me use PMS Group and say, we have a challenge because maybe we had 10,000 push girls in the market and we didn't pay them on time and they are rioting. That's an opportunity for us to amplify. I pray I never get into that situation, but you know, that's an opportunity for us to amplify our brand image, because we have 10,000 people already tweeting about us. So whatever we say, all those guys are seeing, and as they respond, our brand is growing. So it's a negative that you can spin to a positive. Fantastic. And that's just an example. It's not something I wish to be.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that example, Joanne. And I think finally to Reema here, what would you encourage these leaders who are watching this webinar on how they should intersect, how they should bring together their personal brands? I know We have mentioned it in passing as we have been having these conversations, but things that jump at you on quick wins that they can do to bring their brands together.
Okay, great. I think we've talked quite a bit of visibility aspects, right? Being top of mind, using the platforms, like all the different kinds of spaces that people can actually put it. Like you've mentioned billboards, you've mentioned LinkedIn, you've mentioned other social media pages, websites, etc. All that starts to bring like the visibility aspects of your business, of your personal brand as well. I think what we need to connect everything will be the credibility. And I think you also mentioned that earlier as well.
Mhm.
You mentioned reputation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we provide as Ardy is reputation marketing. So reputation marketing is literally leveraging on what your customers are saying about you, not what you're saying about yourself. So you're not tooting your own trumpet, you're actually listening to what your customers are saying. So feedback is important, reviews are as important as well.
Mhm.
So again, part of the due diligence that somebody would do for your business is they would see, of course, like it's a word of mouth referral, right? If someone tells me, hey, Yelbert is great because he does this and this, and he's done it for me, so it's really great, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the questions that I saw over here. I'm getting a lot of referrals. So referrals are great because then it's kind of both ways, right? That you've been referred to somebody because then they were trusted,
Mhm.
that they will also give you the money, and on the other hand they're also trusting you to actually do the job. I'm giving you the money, please can you do the work for me.
Yeah.
But how do you paste that online? Because this is where everyone is living. People are living online more than anything else. We're always on our phones, right?
Mhm.
So then how do we actually ensure that when someone is doing their due diligence around your business and people who don't know about you are then now seeing peer referrals, which is now the word of mouth put online as reviews, and not testimonials, because testimonials could be like on your website, you have a hearsay.
Mhm.
This person said, Jane said ABC, John said ABC,
Mhm.
versus an actual real review that links back to the person who has written it online. Great credibility around that, right? So if you connect your visibility, which is now the top of mind in different ways, whether it's networking, events like these, being a thought leader, putting education out there, putting consistent social media content out there, and so on, plus what are your customers saying about you in reality, then now you have better conversions coming into your business as well, right? And so this is what we want. We want people to encourage them to just look at the visibility and the credibility to then move it ahead. And the credibility aspect is your personal brand as well as your business brand. Are you doing what you're saying? Are you delivering? Are you providing quality? Are you doing it on time? What is your customers saying, right? And I think there's something else that you had brought out earlier that I want to actually talk about, which is local brands and how to actually elevate them. Is really like listening to your customers. So again, this is still part of that. Reputation marketing is about listening to your customers and innovating and changing and evolving your business. Your business does not stay at a standstill. Ben's business, Joanne's business, it was not the same when they started. It has evolved from listening to their customers as well. So we need to care, sort of keep listening to our customers so that we can be able to innovate, we can change our processes. Perhaps that's a thing. It could be not about your delivery, it could be about your process, it could be about your equipment, it could be about anything at all, but are we listening to our customers to then elevate our brands to that level? Right? Innovation, R&D, research, EDC, those are things that are still part of building that brand, whether it's for your business or for your person. But the reputation is very, very important part of it.
Reputation, very important. Doing or keeping your word, doing what it is that you promise your customers. That is very important in brand building. So we're going to take a break, and then once we come back, so we will have, I'll allow my panelists to take a bathroom break, and you as well, for 5 to 10 minutes. And then when we come back, we are going to focus on the questions that are coming from the audiences. I will also give an opportunity for audiences to interact with us by asking their questions directly. So See you in 5 minutes time. And if you have a burning question, this is the opportunity for you to direct it to the panelists. And if you have an individual specifically that you'd want to answer the question, you can actually tag the name as you post the question there. Thank you.
Yep. Yelbert.
All right, we are back, and thank you for the questions. And we'll give also an opportunity for those who would want to shoot their questions directly. But let's take the questions that are on the chat, and I'd request my technical team to scroll up so that we can pick the first question. All right, so the first question, welcome back to this webinar. We are talking about the intersection of personal brand and business brands. And we are done with the questions, or rather engaging with the panelists, and now we will be tackling questions from the audiences. So the first question is, as an entrepreneur, your business is intrinsically connected to your personal brand. How do you therefore build a business and business brand that goes beyond your personal brand as a founder or CEO? I want to direct that question to Joanne.
Okay, thank you very much. How do you first and foremost make sure that your brand and your business brand, first the two of them, that they're two separate brands, so that one can be bigger than the other? And I think that's really a difficult one, because I'll use myself as an example and tell you that every time we do a brand audit, brand Joanne is bigger than brand PMS.
Beautiful.
If I were to be asked what I would prefer, is the opposite.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is, you know? Okay. So I think that in answering this question, what I would say is that the first thing is that you need from the get-go, because for me, I started doing this kind of strategic thinking on the brand later on, not during the beginning of the process. I think if you're strategic and a planner, as you are right now in the beginning of your business, is to decide what you want to amplify. And so it means that instead of you being known for yourself, you will be known for your business. You become like an employee of your business, such that every time people hear your name, they connect you with the brand. The brand that I would use as an example is that every time you hear Michael Joseph, what do you think? I don't need to say. So you get it? So that's what I would say you need to do. And it's not easy, because it means that at all points, your brand colors, your brand name, you literally must be like a walking billboard. Which you won't enjoy, but that's the only way for you to have your brand, your corporate brand ahead of you. If not, you will always go ahead of your brand, because we are seeing you all the time. We are connecting with you, and as human beings, we connect with a fellow human being a lot easier than with a static brand, for example. You know, really a non-human brand. So that's the guidance I would say, in being very deliberate about it. Beyond that, I don't see any other way of you escaping yourself being a bigger brand than the corporate.
Yeah, and
maybe then you can.
Yes, and to add to that, Joanne, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for you as a founder to actually go beyond your brand. And I think I can give global examples. Apple, you know, when you hear Apple, what comes to mind? It's the founder. It's the founder. If you think about Microsoft, I mean, it's Bill Gates. It just rings. If you think about Facebook, you know, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing, but it is important for you to be deliberate, because when you are deliberate, then that means you're going to approach the issue more strategically, and therefore the things that you are doing would be very, very intentional and focused towards enhancing visibility for both your brand as a person as well as the brand of your organization. So let's go to questions.
Sorry, let me just weigh in a little bit on that one. Back to you.
Yes.
I want us to talk about a Kenyan brand, and the brand that came to mind immediately is actually Equity Bank and James Mwangi.
Yes.
And I think if you look at the two, they are in the same league as those big international brands that we've talked about.
Absolutely.
So you see, anytime you hear Equity, you think of James Mwangi, you think of Equity. And I think you're absolutely correct in clarifying that there's no challenge in either of the brands being bigger than the other, because they feed off each other.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that example. And I think if you look at our banks in the country, you will see a couple of examples that actually follow that same trail. Second question from Sharon Ogugu. I am a health coach with a background in nutrition, currently pursuing a master's in global public health in Germany. What exactly do I need to do to sign up new clients beyond the first and the second tier of referrals that are coming from family and friends? I get highest engagement on Instagram, but all my new clients are still referrals from friends and family, and I'd like to broaden my horizons. Ben, would you give that one a try?
Yeah, sure. Let me give it a go. So I think for I don't know, I feel like the question is a bit more specific into what should be looking to do. But I think number one, if you're like you said earlier, if you're getting referrals already, that means the product is good. What essentially you'd also do is maybe those people who have gone through your program, I would make sure that I get clips of them talking about the work that I've done and put it on my Instagram. Since I get engagement there, since you get engagement there, I would probably just put those testimonials up there and really try and amplify them as much as possible so that other guys can be able to see that there's a lot more to what I do than just my family and friends. I think the biggest thing that I've seen also really working out, and I don't know if you do this already, is how are you really helping a lot of the audience? How are you giving information or educating or sharing tips on how they can be able to improve on their lifestyle, improve on their health? I think especially on the health sector, if there are people really consume a lot of these nuggets of things that can really help them either. Now there's a talk about mental health, there's talk about physical fitness, there's about eating healthy. I think like for you now, there's a talk of GMOs, like Joanne mentioned in Kenya. You should be deeply embedded in that conversation. What are your thoughts on that? I think those are some of the things that you'll be able to do, helping people and educating people. On the GMO conversation, it's you being able to be part of a conversation that is already happening. At Bright Spark, we just call that being in the, having a conversation around the trend. So right now, people are talking about GMOs. We've got a new government that is really focused on agriculture. So how can you plug in your health conversations around all those things that people are talking about? As Bright Spark right now, I think we're doing a research on brands and climate change. Because there's also conversation, because of the new government, there's also conversation of climate change, there's conversation on deforestation and reforestation of certain parts, and farming in parts of that were historically forests. So what do people think of all that? So we're going to plug ourselves into that conversation. So those three aspects are probably some of the things that I would advise you to be able to look at. Then on the bringing it back to what we're talking about today, what are you all about? If you're all about health, what specifically are you talking about? What are you keen on? What kind of healthy lifestyle are you trying to portray, or would you like people to have? And you show yourself actually doing the motions, showing yourself doing the work. If you're up at 5 in the morning going jogging, hey, video, go live on that thing. Call your friends, let's go jogging at 5 in the morning, from wherever to wherever. Let that conversation continue. Let that conversation be all about you and what you're all about. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. And I think to add to that, you can also consider other platforms other than Instagram to just widen your reach.
Can I just add
the
something there?
audiences. And I think
No, just to add to what you're saying is,
yes.
you know, when we're doing marketing strategy, one of the biggest things that we do is who is our target audience? Who are we targeting? So even as you in the health sector, what are the people that you are targeting and where can you find them? Whether it's online or offline, which are those platforms or which are the spaces that you'll be able to find them? And, you know, like, so creating that buyer persona. I'm looking at the age of between 35 and 45, has to be a woman, has to be urban, are they professional, do not have time to actually think about nutrition and health, but they're the ones who actually need some help and they don't know where to find it, you know. So like, how do you profile them in such a way that you know where to find them, and what are some of the things that you can say about it as part of your content, or part of that thought leadership that we're talking about with Ben and with Joanne, is that that's what you want to put out there. And also talk about your case studies, right? Who have you been able to impact? You don't even necessarily say who it is, but then how are you impacting them, and what has happened around that? Because people are looking at benefits. People don't buy your service as much as they buy the benefit around it, right? So then again, you want to talk about the benefit. And of course, then now leverage what your customers are saying about your assistance and your service, and how that's impacted their lives. And I feel that would be a bigger picture, or the, you know, like for any business for that matter.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
So Ogugu, just to add to that, I think I hear very critical components.
Yeah.
Because it's taking us back to marketing 101. Number one, you need to really clarify what problem are you trying to solve.
Sure.
And then number two, which audience are you going to be speaking to? Then you can look at the population statistics. What is the size of that audience, and which mediums are they consuming? And then go and talk to them in those specific mediums. Then you'll be widening and broadening your base beyond your family and your friends. Then we have a question from Jose. He's asking, is it okay to share sensitive opinions such as political or religious views on social media? Does this have potentially negative impact on your personal brand from experience? There is any example out there? I think we sometimes tend to just share opinions on social platforms thinking that no one may be paying attention. That's a very good question, Joseph. And I want to allow Joanne, she's looking tickled, so maybe she has something to share.
I'm actually hoping that one would go back to Ben, but I'll try. I think that everything and anything you do communicates your brand. So it doesn't matter whether it is political, religious, whether it's just a comment you make. Every comment you make, you do not have freedom. The minute you become a brand, you are aligned to what it is that you say at all times. So if you pick a provocative persona, then that's what your brand becomes. So whatever you had planned to be, you no longer are. You are that provocative person. So we lump you together with all other provocative people. So whereas you wanted to show us that you're a serious communications expert, we stopped seeing the communication expert and start seeing the activist, the political rabble-rouser. So you need to be very careful that whatever you do actually aligns with what you want your brand to be. Now, if you want to be a politician, then being a rabble-rouser is a very good way to get there. But if you want to be a business leader, it's not.
Yeah.
The choice is yours.
Absolutely. And I think what a better way to mention it, Joanne. And I think it really connects with your values as a person and values as a brand. What values do you espouse as a brand? And what values do you therefore espouse as an individual? Because if you have conflicting values between your business and your person, then you will have issues, because customers will pick on your personal issues and try to connect them with your brand. And therefore, there will be blurred lines between the business you're trying to build and the person that you are out there. So I would say be guided by your values. Ben, you want to add something?
Yeah. I think I just wanted to bring into mind what Reema has said. Always remember who you're talking to, especially when you're on social media. So if you've already established that this is your brand, then it is very clear that there's so many, that there are not so many lines you can cross. You might have a burning opinion about something happening in the political scene, but because you've chosen this as your brand, and these are the people who are listening to you, then even if you want to talk about it, you have to figure out a way of how to talk about it. I like how Vusi Tembekwayo always talks about politics. He doesn't mention anybody by name. He just gives you can call it beyond knowledge. He's talking wisdom. We've chosen leaders who are psychophants. That time he's talking about, but it could be anybody in Africa. So that's how he's positioned it. So a specific person or voicing an opinion on a particular situation. Another thing is that another example. Elon Musk. Elon Musk has now where he's aggressive, and he pushes the boundaries of that communication. So he's really transcended even the brand for his car, his SpaceX and everything. And there are very little ramifications for him because I think he's now playing on a
Is it us?
Business that anything you say will not affect your business. So you need to be very careful once you've chosen a specific path. Elon still sells cars like crazy, so he's safe, he's okay, he's a billionaire. I think as a founder starter, you have to be really careful. You might have that leeway later on in life, maybe not now.
All right, thank you for that contribution, Ben. And then there's another question from Josephine Tendo, and she says, it goes to Joanne. She says, I'm a newish marketing consultant, still in solopreneur stage. What advice would you have given yourself when you are where I am now, and that would help you build your personal brand and business as fast in a sustainable and profitable way?
Right. Thank you very much. First and foremost, that's a great question, and congratulations on starting your entrepreneurship journey. It's a great time to be an entrepreneur because first and foremost, you have Unthinkables. We did not have that. Yeah. So that's the first thing I would have done. I would have joined Unthinkables because it just helps you to learn so much more about business and the facets of business where it's your blind spot and other people can see for you. I love what it does for businesses in helping you to see your weak points and to grow and to see others grow. I love the ×10 because that's something that helps you to measure, and that's not a parameter most people have for starting. The second thing I would say is that it's being very, very clear in sitting down to write your plan of what you want your brand to be. And it goes back to the questions that Yelbert was asking earlier. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be known for? What is your unique selling proposition? What impact or legacy do you want to leave? Who is your audience? Once again, and then what channels or platforms do you want to use? Those same questions that Yelbert asked are the same ones you ask yourself. And once you put that down, you then decide very simple things. One, what am I going to continue doing? What am I going to stop doing? And what am I going to start doing? And once you put that list together, I like using that parameter because it's so simple, the 3 ways. And once you pick those 3 parts, then it's very clear what your path is going forward. Now, in terms of the marketing space, it's become increasingly competitive because every third person claims to be a marketing expert. And so you need to be very clear as to what your unique credentials are. And you need to build your credibility, your capability, and your scope as quickly as possible, because that's the only way you're going to scale. Now, how do you do this? The same things we talked about when we were talking about the personal brand and amplifying a brand across regions is the same things you do for yourself as an individual and for the business. And remember once again that the business and yourself are very intertwined. One of the things I will say that I wish I had known and that I would advise you to please do is to start being visible from the get-go. It took me 15 years to allow myself to be visible because I had bought into this story of, oh, the minute I go out there, I'm going to be targeted. Oh, the media might start posting bad stories about me. And remember, first and foremost, I was talking about print media, not even social media. So in this day, if you're to use that kind of paradigm, you'll never get out there. So stop being afraid of that and just get out there. And you know what? Anything that comes your way, you're more than equal for it. So just be ready to get going. If I were to talk now in terms of growing the business so that you can make money because you're not in business just to enjoy it, be very clear how you target your customers. Sit down and be very specific in categorizing the type of clients you're going for. There's some clients and some business you will do that you will always be toiling and you will never be rich. And there's some clientele you pick and you only need 2 and you're wealthier than Joanne. So please be smart. Don't waste that time doing work that is just tedious and you're making next to nothing. Yeah. Look at the low-lying fruit where you will make the most money for least effort. You are not brought onto earth to suffer. You are brought to earth to thrive and to make a difference. So find a need, meet it. You don't have to meet every need. Meet the need that also meets your need. Thank you.
I think that's very important, Joanne, and thank you for pointing it out. And I think many of us struggle with choosing our target audience. Yep. Because if you keep it too broad, again, it means that you're talking to the masses, and many times you actually end up not being very strategic even in your communication. So thank you very much for that response, Joanne.
Can I give a flip side of that story?
Yes.
So and I love what you're saying, Joanne, but I had a client who, I mean, he went completely all out, right? And he was a solopreneur. And what happened is there's so many inquiries that came through, but then there was no capacity in his business to actually fulfill them. So what happened is it worked against him. So then capacity building is as important in you know, like ensuring that when the inquiries come through, that you're able to then deliver for that as well. Yeah. And so he's like, okay, now I have to stop. I have to rethink about this. So of course, creating your business model canvas is a very important part of, you know, like especially when you're starting up, to ensure that where your revenues are coming through, are you building it? Are you listening to your customers? What are they asking for, etc.? Just to add and to reiterate to that part of it. And this is really interesting example that came through about he went to radio and he got so many inquiries, like he was just everywhere. But then he didn't have the capacity to actually deliver on what his customers wanted.
So you need to ensure that you lay the rails.
Yeah.
When the inquiries come, Joanne mentioned in her interview earlier that she had exhausted her savings on setting up the business. And when she was told supply, she needed money to supply, and she had to borrow for her to be able to fulfill the need. So you need to be very agile. Mm-hmm. You need to be very flexible, even as you make those choices.
Maybe we can
Sharon is giving
an example, right?
Rather an additional thought on what we had responded, and she is a medical professional, I believe. She said, you need to ask yourself, what specific problem are you going to solve for the specific group of people? On that problem, talk about it time and time again until you become a major part. It becomes a major part of your brand. You're now, Sharon, the health coach that helps children from becoming obese, or helps mothers improve fertility by changing their diet, or insert specific problems you're passionate about solving. I think that is very useful.
That's kind of the UVP as well, right?
Yes. That is your
unique value proposition.
Your unique value proposition, or your unique selling proposition. Yeah. So that is very important. Scroll down. Mm-hmm. Final thought there.
I think now that that, Phil, but maybe I can make a comment.
Yes.
Because I didn't speak to. Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to make a comment. I hope you can hear me. I wanted to make a comment to the health coach. I cannot remember the name. Sorry about that. But you talked about the fact that people are viewing plenty of your posts on Instagram, but the uptake is not as good. They're actually still going back to the referrals. So for me, what I would ask you to also check on your posting and your messaging, and actually Ben alluded to this, is what is your call to action? Because you could be saying a lot of things, but there's no call to action. What action are you asking the person to take? Once they read, what do you ask them to do? What are they supposed to do? Or do they just read and they know and they smile and then that's it, they like? You don't want likes, you want them to do something. So what is that something you ask them to do? And you must ask it in black and white. Click this link, you know, to book an appointment. Click this link to get a free diet. Click this link to lose 10 kilos in one day, you know, whatever it is that, you know, but be credible, of course. Huh? And then secondly, you must use the tags, like almost like search words, what people look for. So for example, are you the kind of health coach that helps somebody to lose weight? Are you the kind of health coach that helps somebody in anti-aging? And Reema also spoke to this in terms of your targeting. So pick that something. And that's what Sharon has also talked about in terms of, you know, are you known for kids or something? Pick something, pick a struggle, pick a target, and be very clear about that. And then also the issue of 24-hour access. If somebody gets in touch with you, do they actually get feedback immediately?
Yep.
What for this need that they have? And do you have a cost indication? Because I find that on IG especially, these are the things that people don't do. So you read, you'd like to follow through, but there's nothing. And of course, all the other things that Ben said, I don't want to repeat them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne. We are very much out of time. And so I'll give an opportunity to Ndiangui Kenya, who has a question, to ask the question, and then we get closing remarks from the panelists.
Thank you, Philbert. Thanks for the wonderful team. I'm enjoying the conversation. My question is, where do you draw the line between your personal style and the public expectation? Let me give you an example. So I have long hair. It doesn't matter how much I comb it in the morning. 2 hours it will be shaggy. I don't like wearing suits, and I'm dealing with guys in the finance industry, you know, big corporates, and so I want to go with my jeans, t-shirt, and so on. It helps that at least I'm in the IT and so on. So at what point do I say, so this is the expectation of the guys that I'm meeting, but this is my personal style, and I really don't want to conform or just for the sake of business and so on.
I'm not sure I heard you very clearly. I'll request you to repeat the question again.
Okay. You can hear me clearly?
I can hear you better.
So I'm asking, where do you draw the line between personal style, my personal style, and what the public or the customers I'm targeting expect? For example, I normally have very long hair and afro, so it doesn't matter how much I comb it in the morning. In 2 hours, it will be shaggy. So at the end of the day, you'll just see me and this guy has shaggy hair. But just who I am, and that's how I want to be. I don't like wearing suits, but I'm dealing with guys in insurance, finance, and banks, and those guys must be in a tie and from morning to evening. So at what point do I say, you know, this is what the client expects, and this is who Ndiangui is, and this is, I don't want to conform to, you know, those patterns and so on.
The patterns of this one.
Yes.
Ndiangui, that is a very interesting question. If I can attempt to give my perspective, I think it's a personal choice. I'd say it's your choice, and I think Joanne mentioned something very fundamental earlier when she said, if you choose a certain path, you need to walk that path. So if you've chosen to deal with insurance, for example, insurance experts, you're going to meet people with suits. Of course, they'll not take you serious if you walk in with the jeans and you're not wearing socks and you have a shaggy hair. They will not take you serious. If that is the space that you're playing in, then you need to strike a balance between how you want to project your image as an individual and your organization, and how your consumers are going to interact with you. So that would be my perspective. I don't know what Joanne you would say over that.
Well, I want to add something before Joanne says something as well.
Yeah.
For you, what's the name?
Diangui.
Diangui.
Yeah.
Diangui.
Yeah. Who is your target audience? If, for example, at the end of the day, like I'll say on the flip side of it, right?
Yep.
You're just new, you want to get into employment, you go to a business, you're not a creative. Creatives kind of get away with quite a bit. But if it's somebody who's at the end of it and you've come in for an interview, it's kind of similar to that, right? You want to understand what is the value of the business. If you go to Google, perhaps they'll take you very seriously, whichever way you look like. But if you go into a very corporate culture, and for them it's all suits and ties, and you walk in a jeans and t-shirts with the shaggy hair, then I'm sorry, that's the target that you're going for, and they don't connect with you, right? So for me, I think that already is a target market thing, and like you need to connect with your target, and otherwise, you have consequences. Maybe the people that you're targeting do not mind you being shaggy and selling them insurance, right? And that's okay as well. So then that's now your niche market that you've created. Like for me, that's two things that you need to think about at the end of the day. Joanne, I don't know, what do you think?
I completely agree, and I also want to agree with what Philbert has said. And in my answer, which is going to be very short, I lean on exactly what Ben said when we were talking earlier about the political comments. If you're at the level of Elon Musk, you can afford to wear anything you want, because you superseded that standard, and you don't need these people, and their opinion is irrelevant to you. But as long as you need these people and their opinion is relevant, you're going to toe the line. For example, I personally like to dress casual, but when I know I have a meeting like this one, I dressed up for you. See, reason being, I would like to give a professional impression from the get-go, so that I don't distract you by you worrying about, is that really the person who I thought she was? Is that the same brand alignment? So I would say that it's exactly the same thing, but the choice is all yours, because the choice you make, you also carry the consequences. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joanne.
Can I add a different perspective to it?
Go ahead.
So I think.
Just a second. Add your perspective and also give your closing remarks.
Okay, all right. So D, like Reema and John have said, yes, you have to see who your target market is. If you still want to wear a t-shirt and jeans with shaggy hair and get those meetings, that is well and good. But you really have to work extra hard on building your perception and reputation outside of the t-shirt and jeans and shaggy hair. That means what these guys see on social media is something really that will build your reputation around the work that you do. That will build a lot of your brand. Maybe you will do emailers or blogs, something that will really inform them of your knowledge about what you do. So yes, you are dressed and all that, but you really have to work extra hard to prove that you're really knowledgeable in the field that you're doing, so that you try and transcend the visual aspect of you. The perception of you should be much larger, of your work should be much larger than their perception of you, who you are as a person, which is a lot of work, especially if you're ready to do all that work and to just remain in t-shirt and jeans. Hey, go for it. But what we're talking about here today makes it easier for you, to walk into the room, close the deal without a lot of haggle and without questions. You don't want to walk into a sales meeting and there are already questions. You want to reduce the questions as much as possible on your ability to deliver on the work. Closing remark. I think it's been an amazing experience just being here, being able to share. I always, I'm excited to share my knowledge with you because there was somebody who was there before me, and I'm pointing fingers at Joanne, who shared a lot of knowledge that she had with me and got me to where I am. I think on terms of brand, guys, brand is really important. Work hard on it. Yeah. Build it as much as possible, but also be very strategic and think about it because it will follow you for the rest of your life. Be very, very clear about what you want, and you will see, you'll reap the benefits. It might not be, I think it was Sharon, you might be getting referrals right now from your friends, but later on you'll be getting referrals from social media. And so you need to really be critical and strategic about it. I wish you all you the best.
Thank you very much, Ben, Omol. I would want to get closing remarks from Reema.
Okay, great. I mean, I love what we've been talking about today, which is building your personal brand, building your business brand. The things I'm thinking about here, which I'm going to reiterate, is visibility, being top of mind, being that thought leader is great. But without the credibility, you can do all the work and then the business goes somewhere else. It goes to your competitors because they have better reputation and so on. And you can be all that stuff that you're saying, oh, you know, it's really nice, this and that. But then when people are doing their due diligence, you're not delivering properly. This is what your customers are saying, that, you know, it's not nice. And, you know, what was I expecting? It wasn't there, etc. So then that means that your reputation of your brand, whether it's your personal brand or your company brand, then goes down the drain. If you want better conversions, definitely think about visibility plus the credibility aspect of it. So reputation marketing or reputation of your business or reputation of your personal brand is very, very important to move along.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Reema. Doshi, for those closing remarks.
Thanks.
Joanne, let's get your closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Yelbert. First and foremost, it's a great honor and privilege to sit on this panel with Reema and Ben. Great minds, great insights. I've also learned a lot. My closing remarks is reiterating that a brand is a promise. So please choose promises that you can keep. Please make promises that people are interested in and that stick to your core values so that you remain authentic and so that it's a pleasure doing what you're doing. You're not in pain. Live your life fully, even as you work on this brand development and your company corporate brand development, and be ready to amplify it fully. Don't hold back. You're only here for a small while. Please make it count.
I think it's us. We may have hung.
Yeah, that should be us.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Ben, can you confirm that you can hear me?
It's literally us with hung.
Yeah. All right.
Can we hear?
Can you hear me? All right. Thank you very much for joining the webinar today. I'd encourage you to patronize Unthinkable. There is a dinner that is being organized.
Yelbert.
Yes, we are back. We are back. Sorry about that. We dropped off a bit. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I think I'd want to take this opportunity to thank my panelists, Ben, Omol, thank you very much, CEO, or rather founder, Bright Spark Media, Reema Doshi, CEO, Ardy Marketing, and Joanne Mwangi Yelbert, PMS CEO, for joining me on this panel tonight. I want to take this opportunity to also thank the Unthinkable for putting this together and having me as the facilitator of this conversation. I think that's what I thrive doing, and I'm very happy to have had an opportunity to engage with all of you. I want to close with a quote from Biz Stone. I think I want to encourage all of you who are attending here. In brand building, you have to do the work. There's nothing that will come easy. And he says that timing, perseverance, and 10 years of practice will make you look like an overnight success. So please keep the timing right, persevere in what it is that you're doing, practice and practice and practice in growing your brand. At the end of it, you're going to look like an overnight success. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.
All right. Thank you.